Good morning, badasses. Coach Joe for the Summit Endurance Academy. Today's topic is just going back a little bit to the triangle. I think we talked about it a while ago, but this has become a pretty big part of a lot of the stuff that I'm working on. So I just want to chat about it again. So essentially, this is a needs hierarchy, right? And the way that a needs hierarchy works is it's not what's most. It is what's most important, but it's not necessarily, and this is a question I get often, it's not what we want to spend the most time on. It's just we need to make sure that the way that a needs hierarchy works is we need to have stuff that's lower down, nailed down, before we can get the most out of the thing above it. Okay? Essentially it's a set of limiters. Right? We need to be thinking about the stuff lower down, because if we ignore those and they go to shit, well then none of the shit up high works. Okay? So for me, we talk a lot about the engine in endurance sports, and we talk about how do we get fitter and faster and all that stuff. And that's mostly an engine conversation. Tied along with that is the transmission. So we know that we need we have the engine is essentially the energy systems. How are we taking in food and oxygen and turning that into the raw energy? And then the transmission is what turns that energy into movement, essentially. So we know that we need to train a lot in order to get a good engine. But we know that we also, like, that can't just be like bad training. We can't have poor technique and just like limp around and hope that turns into a productive engine, right? If we want to actually be faster or stronger, we have to worry about the transmission in addition to the engine. And then we know that, like, we need to fuel right. We can't ignore nutrition. And now again, this doesn't imply complexity as you get down there. I think that nutrition is fairly simple, and I think that most people do a fairly good job. But if it's fucked, well, guess what? None of this works at all. You can't out-train a really bad diet. Now, a really bad diet is very rare. Not in the US in general, it's pretty common, but for endurance athletes, if you think about it, you're doing a pretty good job. And then, all of these require choices every day, right? We need to get out the door to train. We need to be aware of our technique, and we need to eat the fuels, eat and drink how we know we should eat and drink. And all of that is done by the driver. So we have engine, transmission, fuel, and driver. So we need the driver to be able to make all of these choices that we need to make every day. So yeah, that is the badass hierarchy of needs, and how I come at a lot of this coaching stuff. I think that too often as endurance coaches, we really focus on the engine and the transmission, and then maybe we talk a little bit about the fuel, but we very, very rarely talk about the driver and about kind of the sport psychology basis of how do we make these decisions, how do we make these choices every day, and make sure that we're set up to make them consistently and often. And that is the key to big gains over time. Cool? Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, and check us out. Badass Class, summitenduranceacademy.com/badassclass. Thanks. Have a good day.